All right. All right. All right. Okay. So we are on, and joining me today is my special guest. I should have probably discussed what to call you,
Uh, you know, Bob is
Mister
fine.
Bob is fine. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So we're here to discuss the movie. Is the Karate Kid, right?
Yes,
But this is the new one.
it is the new one.
It's the new one, but how old was that? It's still a while back.
It is a while back. I can remember seeing the commercial for it the first time. I think it was 2009, and of course, you and I saw it. So
Yeah.
in the theater.
Yes.
So that was a number of years ago. So off the top of my head, I don't recall. I'm going to go with the early 2010s, somewhere in that window.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, of course, we could easily look it up, but let's move on. There's more important things to discuss about this movie. So, I think what's important here is you and I, we really like the original, right?
Yes, we're both. We're. I think we're in that perfect age range that if you're living in the U.S.
Yeah,
and you didn't learn about martial arts and karate and everything from Bruce Lee,
yeah.
if that wasn't how you absorbed, then I think you definitely absorbed it through the Karate Kid franchise.
Absolutely. Maybe later on, Chuck Norris, and even more later was Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah, but first, I mean, Bruce Lee, of course, was earlier, but you might not
Yes,
have picked up on that because it's a little bit more adult, his movies.
yes.
But for a simple story and introduction to the very very basics of karate for the Western Hemisphere, of course, you have the Karate Kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I also, at the time, as a kid, I remember the two must see movies as a kid was E.T. and The Karate Kid at the time. And we all, like all my classmates, we all saw it, we all talked about it. And after The Karate Kid came out the next day, like I remember all the boys in my class, I mean, they were enrolled. And I remember being so jealous.
Yeah. Now, of course, the remake doesn't have the chance to have that impact
No.
because you already had all the years of karate and then followed by MMA, and so we've been saturated with martial arts. But still, how do you think the remake holds up on its own?
So to me, it's almost unavoidable to make a comparison, right? And but what you're asking is on its own, like don't compare it. Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
or if of course it's unavoidable because it's almost they lift so much from the original, but setting it in this modern context. So in the
Yes.
2000s, was it a successful film?
Well, for me, who's a fan of the original, right? So I have to say, like, do we even need this remake? Is it that the old film it didn't age well, so we needed a remake, and I don't think we needed a remake. And that being said, I was satisfied with this new one. What about you?
You make a very good point. We might not have needed a remake, but you get away from the corniness of the 80s. You get away from things that were embedded in that culture, the style of dress, the language, the hair, and now you've got almost exactly the same story reset in the modern era, and from that perspective, it works. We may not have needed it, but I'm a it, as much as I loved the original, and I'm maybe embarrassed to say I even loved the second Karate Kid
Yeah.
film.
No, me too.
Um,
Me too. Yeah.
the remake is a really great film.
Yeah.
I think it stands up quite well. Jackie Chan as the Mr. Miyagi character, though in this film he's Mr. Han, is a fantastic casting. I think he does a great job in the film, and the growth of the character, the growth of Daniel-san, which now in this case I'm sorry to say I even forget the name of Jaden Smith's character
Yeah.
In the movie,
I,
but still the Daniel-san
yes.
character. Um, it's still there. It still works. You see him grappling with difficult things. You see him coming to martial arts and maturing a little bit, as well as helping the guy who is his mentor with his own personal battles, the same way that Daniel-san in the original helped Mr. Miyagi, and it does really well. I have a question for you. I don't think we discussed this previously. The training, the way that the Daniel-san character is trained by his mentor, and now in this case it's Jackie Chan, Mr. Han. What do you think of the way the training is done in this film?
Oh man. You mean okay. so
What,
for
what,
me, um, in the original, where Daniel-san complaining that, hey, you're making me do all your house chores and stuff, and I'm your damn slave, right?
yeah,
And then so he's super disappointed. And then in this one, where he's like, pick up the jacket, put it on, and all just repeating that over and over. And he's like, look, I get it. I was rude. I got the lesson. Can we start training kung fu for real now? And Jackie just keeps making him do that. And so he's super disappointed. He comes home and the mom is like, how is kung fu? How was your workout? And he was like, it's all right.
what, what did you learn? And he
Yeah,
hangs up the jacket.
yeah, and he hangs up the jacket. That is awesome, right? She's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Um, yeah, I don't know. For me, it kept the magic. How do you do that? We already know. We already know. We've already seen it. They kept it going. I felt the same magic there. And then when he realizes, he's like, I'm done. The same thing, right? The exact same thing with the original. And he's like, come here, right? And Jackie Chan like shows him that what you were doing can be applied to kung fu. All those repetitions were not just you literally doing the jacket, and so that lesson is still holds. They to me they did a great job. Now for some people, I've heard other people say nah, but for me, the magic was still there. What about you?
I think it was a little bit of a stretch to find a motion that can be applied to kung fu and also be some other sort of lesson, and they use the hang up the jacket, and I don't know what that's called in kung fu, what that particular motion is referred to as,
Hmm.
um, where wax on wax off sand the floor is direct. With very little adaptation, you suddenly have your attack and defense motion, your high block, your low block from karate. Put on I think it's a stretch. It works. I agree with you that it works, and of course we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
We in the audience, I think there's nobody going into this film unless some young kids
Yeah.
are going into the film and seeing put on the jacket and not realizing it's wax on, wax off, and sand the floor, and all that business that Mr. Miyagi was teaching Daniel-san in the original.
Yes.
But it does work, and without really bothering, they can even get away with calling this the Karate Kid, even though we're teaching kung fu. We're in China. We're learning kung fu. There's no karate present, I think, anywhere in the film. But because it's a remake, they were very successful, weirdly enough, in mislabeling a film. So it's not the Karate Kid; it's the Kung Fu Kid. but that would obviously fit. You can't make that movie, but you can make the Karate Kid, and then show so much of Chinese kung fu, or at least not so much because there's a million directions in Chinese kung fu, but there was so much that you could show there and showcase it on the skeleton of the old film or on the framework of the old film, and it works. It's this fantastic training montage that where the old film was in Southern California, I think. This one gets to be in China,
Right.
and they use that to great effect. Going up to the old temple and doing
Yes.
the training there, and all of the stuff that
Yes.
Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith got to do. So it works, and it's more from it's to use the word spectacle to mean or spectacular to refer to the spectacle. It's far more spectacular of a film.
Yes.
It's far more eye candy
Right.
there than was present in the original film.
And
So
maybe that was necessary because the original was such an icon, and it this one had such big shoes to fill, including Jackie Chan, including Jaden Smith, and like you mentioned, the title, they kept it as the Karate Kid because the original is such a big impact. It's still to this day, right? And like I can't think of another remake that's decent. Can you?
do you mean of like a word for word remake
Well, no,
like
no, no.
this?
Like any other movie that like when you think of one of the things people say is sequels, movie sequels. A lot of sequels are never as good as the original. One of the exceptions is Aliens, right? A lot of people say that.
Yeah,
Perhaps Terminator 2. But what my point there is that it's pretty limited. Well,
I,
remakes, I kind of feel like it's even more so. It's harder to make a remake, and it's just as good, if not better, than the original.
I agree. I think you're right, and easy. If we want to look at an '80s remake that is definitely much less good, it was Conan. You
Conan,
take a
RoboCop.
take a movie from the '80s and try
Yes,
to remake it very much in the same way. Yeah, this is really a success. Even if you had never seen the original,
right.
you could watch this and enjoy it. And if you're a big fan of the original, you can also watch it and enjoy it. Not that there aren't things that if you really want to complain about or somebody didn't like it for this reason or that reason, yeah, there will always be that. But
Yeah.
impressively, it does a much better job than other franchises, which some of which we just named,
Yes.
that failed.
And I mean, once again, like maybe the timing for this movie was also perfect because Jackie was at the right age to play this. Maybe
Mm.
um, Mr. Miyagi is I mean, he's almost like how could you make a Karate Kid movie without him? He's so important.
You
It,
couldn't have. Well, it would have been amazing, improbably amazing, if they had been able to cast a no-name uh, Asian actor as the sensei or the Sifu, and have him pull it off like Mr. Miyagi.
mhm.
That would have been amazing to see someone that we don't know step up and fill those shoes to that degree. Would have been amazing. Um,
That to me is what you're asking for is like remember Dracula? You're gonna do Dracula, kind of a remake in a sense. All right, who's gonna play the role? And we didn't know who Gary Oldman was, and he blew it out of the park. But I think that's pretty difficult, pretty rare.
that's difficult. So having
Yeah.
somebody like Jackie Chan,
Yes.
who's a fantastic actor. Obviously, he's got incredible martial arts cred
Yes.
in his filmography.
Yes.
So Yeah, he definitely could do a good job, and he definitely did
Yes.
do a good job, in my opinion, anyways.
So then,
In
how about the Jayden character, or Jayden Smith? Because he had to go up against Daniel Larusso, right? Ralph Macchio.
well, yeah, and I think the young fella there, he had less of a hill to climb, but he did it successfully. I haven't seen a ton of Jaden Smith films. I don't know how talented he is as an actor
Hmm.
in various roles, but at least in this role, yeah, he was absolutely successful being the young kid who's out of his depth, out of his comfort zone in China, being upset with the big move across the world that his mom made,
Right.
and then falling into the path that we saw Daniel LaRusso take back in the original film, where he's trying to fit in, trying to figure stuff out, and failing. And then one of the things that helps him adapt to his situation is learning martial arts.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I liked him too. I thought he did amazing.
Now, there's one thing that in the original, if you want to criticize, is utterly dumb that they do in the original film that they kind of fix or directly fix in the remake, and that's the crane technique.
Oh, the last scene.
The last scene, because in the last scene, so Daniel LaRusso has taken a major knee injury.
Yeah.
He got a big lateral hit to the knee. It really messed him up. He needed some, uh, Asian, uh, first aid to get him back on his feet. And we do that in both films. Well, using a crane, this crane kick thing, where he's landing, bringing all of his weight down on the injured knee, he should have collapsed in agony in any sort of reality. Of course, the crane thing is all kind of, sort of faked up for the film. Um, I don't think any such thing like that exists. In
What's
the
funny?
crane. What's that?
What's funny about that is, I think we all thought that until there's been a few knockouts using a similar kick in the UFC.
Have they? Well, and of course there is the crane in Kung Fu, but I mean specifically for the movie, they kind of
Yes,
made
yes,
something
yes.
up
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
for
Just
sure.
about,
They
yeah,
made it something very special. Yeah.
yeah. And then they came up, what Jayden does, or the character does at the end, is this incredible flip kick thing to knock the guy out.
Yeah.
In a way, fixes that, I suppose. If it was something that people were pointing at from the original, is, hey, how come you can land on an injured leg and still be okay
I
and still
kind
be
of
standing?
I kind of wish that, like, okay, so the difference was, remember, he uses the snake move,
Yeah,
the hypnotizing move, right? So to me, that was wonderful. That was a great change. But so he was already doing that to the bully kid in the finals at the end. I wish he had just done a normal kick and beaten the guy, because he had already hypnotized the guy, right? Um, whereas did he need to go super spectacular like that? I guess maybe he did, but I don't know, something a little bit more believable would have been. uh, he went Matrix on us.
I, I, I see this as they're they were probably trying to go big or go home.
Yeah,
Where
the
we're,
whole movie. Yeah.
we're remaking. We got to make it at the encore's got to be a tremendous
Yes.
clash, a big firework display, which that ending thing, that incredible acrobatic kick that he does.
So I
It,
get that. So
yeah,
okay. I won't nitpick about that. I'll leave it alone.
even though, yeah, it's um, wire fighting or whatever it was. However, they pulled that off
Yeah.
for the guy to do that.
The one thing about this final fight, though, right? Something I had to clarify was so that one kid is told by the instructor attack the leg, right? And in the original, the same thing. So the kid is kind of the good kid. The good bully. He didn't want to do it,
Hmm.
and he does it. And in the first film, wasn't the guy like I'm sorry, Larusso, I'm sorry, right? Like they made it clear that he didn't want to do it.
I think so. They definitely in that little gang
Yeah.
there was a schism that started to happen, and then at the end there was more respect, and at least some of the gang was on Larusso's side.
Yes.
Yeah.
So okay, and then now we have the final fight with Johnny and Daniel. So in this one, it's Jayden versus the head bully, right? So at that point, where the instructor's like, take out his leg. It was kind of like before. What I'm trying to say is that illegal? Is it nasty? And I don't think it's illegal, and I don't even think that it's necessarily nasty. So what was happening before that was the bully fighting Jayden? Was he fighting him and not deliberately? He knows the leg is hurt and he deliberately avoided it to go, "Hey, I could beat you without that. I don't need to attack your obviously you're hurt there. So I'm going to go square to square, mano a mano without doing that." So he kind of was fighting actually honorably. Is that the case?
I think there is something in both films where the instructor is presented as more evil than the students for the purpose of
Yes.
the Miyagi character saying there's no such thing as bad student, only bad teacher,
Yes.
which we've said that's not exactly true in real life, but for the purposes of principle and in the film, it's like, okay, so in order to set the teacher up as worse,
Yes.
then yeah, you have to show that the kid being arrogant in a way, but principled and saying, no, I can beat you. I'm better than you without resorting to attacking weakness, even though I know I could exploit it.
Yeah. And the instructor maybe sees like, oh, this guy's risking, he could lose. So what are you doing? Stop playing this game. Take out his leg. But that's still not illegal, from my understanding.
It probably isn't.
Yeah.
If you were coaching MMA, if there was a fight and somebody has a weakness, a weak arm, a arm that can be easily joint locked, or something they have a blind spot, or whatever it is, the coach is probably going to be training you to exploit that to
Absolutely.
give you the greater chance of winning. Because
Absolutely.
in any real match, there's the absolute chance that you can lose,
Yeah.
and the coach wants to stack the odds in your favor.
If I was a coach, I'm going to see like, oh, there's something wrong with his left leg. Start doing the low kicks. Go for his left leg. Well, what are you doing? What the heck are you doing? There's your opportunity. Take it, right? That's not illegal.
No, it definitely isn't.
Now,
Unless there's some, unless in a kids tournament there's some special rule about not, don't attack joints, don't do this or don't do that. But yeah, normally, depending on the rules of the match, it may not be illegal or even immoral.
right, right. But okay, so that kind of takes me to the rules of this match. What kind of fighting is this? It looked full contact to me, which is crazy.
It does look, I think in the old one that's what it was. You could see. I think even in the old film there was you saw some little kids with headgear on, So there might have been some kids were using touch contact or some lower level of fighting, but
Mm.
they were saying in the old film, yeah, it's full contact. So yeah, in this, for the purposes of this match, it's style versus style, and apparently no holds barred.
That's crazy for a children's movie.
It, it is. It's unrealistic. It. But in order to make it, maybe they need that in order to make it matter. Which is a little bit weird because well,
Well, it's
you
extreme, and both films did that. And I remember watching the original. I was like, once the tournament started, I was nervous. I was scared.
yeah, and well, for the purposes of storytelling, it works, and it's
Yes, yes,
definitely much more effective than if the competitors are both putting on headgear and mouth guards and boxing gloves and all that sort of thing, which might be more realistic, but less useful from a storytelling perspective. It makes it more like the movie that the franchise that keeps coming into my head for final fight scenes,
yes.
of course, is Rocky,
Oh yeah.
where you've got these incredible over the top uh, punching bouts where these guys just beat the living daylights out of each other uh, in this ultimate climactic battle, and in a way that's at a much sort of lower level. That's what we're seeing in the Karate Kid
Mm-hmm.
in both films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe we could start wrapping this up. My final question for you is favorite scene or scenes in this movie.
Ah, so my favorite scene
Yeah.
in the remake
Yes, in the remake.
is in the remake is different from my favorite scene in the original.
Oh, okay. I want to hear both. Yeah.
So my favorite scene in the remake is the fight between the initial fight between
Oh,
Jackie Chan and the kids.
the
So when
bullies.
he basically saves Daniel-san's life, or
Yes.
Jayden's life
Yes.
there in the alley, or in the actually I guess they're both in alleys
Yes.
in both movies. I like the choreography. I like the introduction, at that point of Mr. Han as a kung fu expert, and I just enjoy that in that film. The scene in the other movie is incredibly effective, but it's not my favorite scene. My favorite scene in the original is when Miyagi reveals to Daniel-san that he's been training karate the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Daniel-san, come here, show me sand the floor, and all that business.
Yeah.
Uh, Still, both scenes are effective in their own place and
Mm-hmm.
in their own films, but for me, I like the fight scene more in the remake, and in the original, I like that reveal more than the reveal that Jackie Chan does with Jayden's character.
Those are, I think, good choices and good points because, you know, that that part where Mr. Miyagi reveals, no, you've actually been training the whole time. Obviously, that's almost like a M. Night Shyamalan twist. It's a big reveal. You can't replicate this to do that again with that kind of impact because you've already seen it. You just can't.
True. Yeah. No. There's no. You only can do that trick once.
Yeah, and then it's interesting because the first fight scene is icon. It's very iconic with the Halloween outfit they were wearing, the skeleton. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the bullies were wearing the skeleton outfits and stuff. That and just the scene, like I could almost see it in my head right now, just closing my eyes and how Mr. Miyagi doesn't he jump over the fence?
He does, and to make matters to identify that gang and show just how bad they are before the fight breaks out. Do you recall what it is that Danielson does to trigger the final that showdown?
What he was? It was at the dance, right?
In the shower. So the kid Johnny, the bad guy, was in a bathroom stall. He
Yes,
was rolling a joint.
yes,
So in the 80s, the context of drugs, the perspective of the society with drugs at that time helps identify this is how bad these guys are. This is how
hmm,
far outside of social norms. Not to. I'm not trying to paint marijuana, one way or the other, but the perspective
yes,
of it at that time was this is totally out of bounds. Don't do, this is your brain on drugs, that whole deal.
yeah,
And so these guys are really bad, and then you get a really bad skeleton gang chasing Danielson in the dark, until he finally gets caught, trying to get over the fence, and then Mr. Miyagi has to come over the fence the other way to his rescue.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
which is
yes.
an incredible scene for a movie.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, for me, I think I would have to say that I agree with you that when Miyagi tells um, Daniel-san, that come back, come back next day, right? That whole reveal, yeah, that's my that's definitely my favorite scene. Another scene that's like real short, but I really liked was the part where he breaks the beer bottles.
Oh yeah, with those two drunk racist white guys who are drinking and hanging out on his car. Yeah,
He
that
actually flexed.
yeah, and more importantly, do you remember what he says with a little dialogue with Daniel-san immediately after that?
Daniel sounds like, how'd you do? Whoa, right?
Yeah, he's blown away. How'd you do that? Because he broke, I think, 3 bottles or something with the
Yeah,
side of his hand,
yeah,
and he says, "Don't know, first time."
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what's iconic, what's so amazing about that, what probably a lot of people don't know, is one of the most famous guys to do that in real life is Masoyama.
Uh huh.
That he's famous. One of the things he's famous for is the beer bottle, the glass bottle breaking like that. But it was only one. Here's Miyagi doing three, right? But yeah, that is for a lot of people that probably don't know that, but they're trying to show you he's at that caliber at least, right?
Well, and something more. So there's something I really like about that scene, which is that when he says, "I don't know how I did it," right? This is the first time.
Yeah,
It's that breaking bottles, breaking boards, and bricks, and all that kind of thing is not central to martial arts training.
yeah, yeah,
It's you don't go around doing that kind of thing. It's more of a trick to
yeah.
be able to do it, and I like that was present in that film.
That
Uh,
yeah, and he does that with multiple, like the belt. When he talks about the belt, so he kind of has a different perspective than maybe a lot of other martial artists at the time that have gone. They're more into about belt and rank, or they're more into about breaking and showing off stuff. And here, Mr. Miyagi is shown as, no, he has a different, more centered um, martial morals. Should I say?
yeah, well, something that comes up in this is in this. I think it was in at the end of the film when they go to the tournament
Yes.
and he Danielson is asking, "How do I do this?" And Miyagi says, "I don't know. You know, what? Haven't you fought before?" And he goes, "Yes, for life, not for points." And that's terribly important. That this sort of thing, if you're training for this, you're training to save your life or to defend life, not to win 2 points or 3 points
Right.
or something in a match. So he has no idea how the structure of this match goes, which is, yeah, harkening back to old school
Yeah.
training. Like, where does this all come from? What is this all for? Which I did like that in the original. I don't think I think Mr. Han was equally ignorant in the remake, but I don't recall how Jayden got brought up to speed in the. Maybe it was his girlfriend, much like uh, the girlfriend
Hmm.
in the original brought Daniel up to speed on how to navigate the competition.
Well, what I liked about Mr. Han was that it's Jackie, so he didn't have to do the bottle breaking demonstration for the audience. We already know how awesome Jackie is as a martial artist.
That's
So
true. You
yeah,
don't have to bother introducing him.
no, and then that scene that you like, your favorite scene in the remake, when he's fighting those kids, those bullies, he never hits them directly. He makes them hit themselves, which is that's if that was real, that's ultra high tech, right?
Yeah, which is ridiculous, but
It's ridiculously
for the
high tech.
character,
Yeah.
it works wonderfully for the character, and then the rest of that fight is very evocative, I think, of the gymnastic fighting that you see in a lot of Jackie Chan's earlier films,
Yes.
where he's doing all kinds of uh, over the top, flips. Like in the fight, he flips the one kid into the barrel,
Yes.
all that sort of thing. In addition to having the kids punch each other,
Right.
uh, you know, in order to be both principled and incredibly acrobatic as they're going through the routine.
Right. 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 So I guess for me, in the second movie, the remake, I still have to go with the reveal scene. So for one and two, or one and the remake, yeah, the original and the remake, I like that reveal scene. For me it still works, but I definitely see your point and other people's point, where it's stretching it or the impact is not as strong. I get it. I understand, but I still, for me it's still my
And
favorite.
and, and something I'd like to kind of give both Danielson and Jaden's character some credit.
Mm.
They both are incredibly shocked. If you watch, like, the kid going through the put on the jacket, and Mr. Han is throwing a punch at him, or pick up the jacket, and he throws a kick over top of him. The kid successfully looks scared,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh my god, put on the jacket. Oh my god, pick it. Oh my god, like, defend. And as he's getting punched by Jackie or kicked or whatever, it works much like in the original, where you see the shock on Danielson's face. Um, the kid is shocked and amazed that this is working.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. This
it's kind of fantastic.
I have to. I said that was my last question for you, but this
Right.
is just too interesting. I have to say, have you ever experienced that
Yep.
in real life?
Yep.
And I'm guessing that's why you took
I,
extra notice there and you enjoyed that.
maybe I think it was just good acting on both their parts. It was well directed, probably.
Okay. Okay.
Um, though for much, so I studied a few different martial arts as a kid because, of course, I was fascinated with the whole thing, as many people were, as you said. Your peer group, as you said, everybody saw the Karate Kid, and then the next thing you know, everybody is signed up for karate lessons.
Yes.
So years later, I was in college, and I had one of those moments where one of my instructors, who's very talented, he wanted to do this demonstration, and he happened to pull me out of the audience, and he took a folded up a tumbling mat, which is about 6 feet long, and
Hmm.
when it's rolled out, it's like 10 feet long or something like that, and 6 feet wide.
Okay.
And but when it's folded up, it's better than a foot thick
Okay.
of mat, and it's standing up on its end. And he goes, "Okay, here, hold this." And I'm like, "Okay." So I held it and held it, you know, with rigidity, with strength. And then the next thing I knew, I was laying on the ground because he had punched it, but in an incredibly forceful way. And I had gone up there thinking, okay, yeah, no, even if he hits it really hard, this is a really thick mat. It's heavy on its own weight. I just need to kind of lean into it, and I'll be okay. And one of the things that he was able to do was hit incredibly hard for various reasons, and that was a sort of a shocking thing. One of my introductions to
Mm.
some of the higher, some of the things that people can pull off.
Yes.
Um, that not that that's emblematic of martial arts or anything like that, but they're like, I've been, as you know, I met an excellent kung fu instructor years ago who no inch punched me onto the floor,
Mm.
which, and the guy, I outweighed the guy probably by 60 pounds.
Okay.
So, things like that, when you encounter people who can do that sort of thing, it's amazing. And the first time you do it, it is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So, and thankfully, I've occasionally met people who've done amazing things. I've met grapplers who are like fighting a snake made of mud, which it's horrifying to go through it because you just get defeated
Yeah.
um, incredibly fast. But at the same time, the skill is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do encounter that sort of thing, it is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of neat. And for those two characters to both realize that they can defend themselves, um, and that they're successfully doing so, it's an amazing scene in both movies that's very well done.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
For for me, I remember when I was learning the Filipino martial arts at the very beginning of my martial arts journey. My instructor was teaching me Arnis, so we had double sticks, and he was teaching me the Heaven Six. And right after that, I mean, he pretty much started like going faster and faster and fast, kind of like what we did at one time,
Mm-hmm.
where I mean, it was like pretty much like full speed. And I remember that freaking me out, and he was just looking at me confident, and I was like surprised, like my brain is fried at that point. It's just almost like just reflex happening. So when Jackie Chan or Mr. Miyagi is throwing those hits, I'm sure safely, but with a lot of speed and force to convince the student that this is how you use it. So that I got to experience that kind of thing, and it was freaking me out. I remember because I was just um, so new to it.
Yeah, like I said, the first time you have that sort of thing,
Yeah.
now you've reminded me. I was years ago. I was much younger. I got in a training scenario in a boxing ring and had a local lightweight guy who knew his footwork,
Mm.
and this was amazing. And again, this is one of those things where, yep, I'm gonna lose, but the guy could move me around the ring.
Yeah.
At, not of my own. I did not have a choice of where I was. He was able to steer me around as I was, trying to
Yeah.
land hits, which is fantastic to see. Thankfully, the guy was training me, and not this was not a match because I would have just gotten defeated quite easily.
Right.
But yeah, it's a that kind of skill that people have, whether it's in boxing or grappling or stick fighting or what have you, it is amazing to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, and those scenes like capture that when you first go whoa, right. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But Anyway, I think we did a pretty good job probably explaining what we think. So it's a little bit over 30 minutes.
Well, I agree, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. We got to do this again. So anyway, yeah, let's wrap this up. Thank you all for joining in, and that's it, folks. Take care.